So thanks everybody who joined me and who's listening to this talk. I'm really excited to kind of be here at DevRelCon 21. This is the third time I'm here. Thanks Matthew for having me over. Great, I'm always a huge fan of DevRelCon, and I'm finally glad to do this again for all of us and all the DevRel leaders across the globe. I get asked this question quite a lot, right? Like recently, I've had this conversation with a lot of DevRel leaders, and they've spoken about how this matters to them, how DevRel, how they start with the DevRels for startups and enterprises, and what their founders and investors care about, so that they can build the defensibility and the opinion of the investors and the founders, so that they can get their projects and programs funded and then go ahead and lead the project. So a little bit about me. I'm Cherish. I head the community here at Savo Labs. I've spent 8 years in DevRel. Some of the companies that I worked with are Google, Amazon, and HackerEarth. Worked with both their community teams, DevRel teams, product teams, operation teams, and that's what I've done in the last 8 years. I at Savo Labs. I head three verticals, which are developer marketing, developer experience, and community management. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to talk you through a few things today, and one of those are like the startup stages. Like whenever you think of DevRel for startups, how do you divide your KPIs? How do you divide, what are the responsibilities based on the stages? And then, of course, there is going to be. I will walk through the business startup stages, stage-wise expectations and KPIs that your founders and investors might have, and of course, business value and of your community, indirect benefits, and question and answers. Um, Now, starting with the startup stage, right? Now, one of the things that you'll see is that this is called the SaaS funding napkin. This is released by Point Nine every year. What they do is they kind of divide the round sizes, the valuations of every startup based on the stage. Now, it's fairly accurate based on a few marketplaces, but of course these can differ based on recent market trends, which industry you're operating in, what is the round size, and what is the valuation that your founder and investors care about, right? So are we going through seed A, series A, and then series B, and then we'll finish up there, and then I'll have any questions if you guys have. So the first thing that you do is so let's say there's a person called, John. John has an idea, goes to the investor and says, here is my idea. I have, I'm just building an MVP, and I'm just raising a seed round so that I can hire my team. So the first funding that John will pick up will probably anywhere between 1 to 4 million. And again, could differ. And even if round sizes and valuation differ, the team responsibilities and KPIs will remain pretty much the same. The valuation immediately touches between 4 million to 12 million of any SaaS company, which is probably a dev tool. And once that is taken care of, what they do is John goes out and builds the first team. Now, John has two options here. The first is he can build the team bottom up, which means he can hire the bottommost layer of the pyramid first, which means people who will be out on the field and actually work out. Or he'll just hire one person who's the head of the community and or a community manager, and then they can build under them. It's usually the other way around, like the latter part where you build somebody on the top of the funnel because they align better with the vision, and then they can build their team based on where they think the company's headed. So the first thing John does is hires a head of community, right? Now the responsibility that John will have is of course establish the community vision and team strategy. Now, the minute you think about communities, right, everybody thinks that what exactly will communities kind of help with? Now, depending upon your founders or your company's goals, you could actually contribute towards the product by improving product features, distribution features that community can contribute towards. You can also contribute towards engineering because a lot of the developers that you will be probably working with, and they'll be building wrappers for you, documentation for you, and a lot of other things that your product will be easier to consume for other developers, right? So you can help with engineering effort, and they can also help you with growth, PR, and just in general community, branding out there. Because the more people know about your brand, the better it is overall for your company, for your valuation, for your investors, for your founder, everybody. So obviously you establish the community vision and team strategy right at the beginning. Tell your founders this is what we're going to do, And because it's just at a seed stage, you might pick up another round between 6 to 9 months. So having a vision only for 9 to 12 months seems to be like a fairly decent way to go about. So if you have like a plan which is between 9 to 12 months, you're okay. Uh, Sorry. So the next thing you do is you choose this community platform. Now we have great community platforms available for almost every startup. Now it depends upon the kind of consumers or the product owners, what kind of community you're building, what your product managers think, what kind of user persona are you working with, and once you have that, jotted down, you can narrow down to your community platform. It could be something like Orbit, Comso, or you can pick up Discord, Slack, whatever works for you the best, right? Now every platform has its pros and cons. Every platform has the most desired user audience, right? Now once that's taken care of, you can set up the awareness and acquisition channels, and of course initiating feedback loop. These are the few responsibilities that you will be working with. The KPIs, which are key performing indicators, are clear vision and goals, which means you tell exactly what you're going to do and how, and obviously have a deadline around it. And goals are obviously SMART, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So if you can create SMART goals against your vision, you gold. Of course, you can set an acquisition and awareness channels. Now, the first thing that you do now, not only will you be helping the company with all the goals that you've set up, but also hire the right team, right? And a lot of these people will come from the community route itself. So setting up that acquisition channel not only for your users but also for your potential hires, which is usually what community teams helps a lot with, because a lot of exposure of first and great engineers comes to the community team, right? So if you could hire somebody for your team as well, for that you need to set up acquisition channels and awareness channels too. And of course, product feedback is something which is very important, especially at the seed round, because understand that you're still building your product, right? I mean, you not necessarily decide this is exactly what I'm going to sell, nothing like it, right? And you're still trying to find that product market fit at seed stage, where you build that confidence with your investors that this is what we're going to do and this is the market that we're serving. So having that product market fit comes very naturally if you're getting the feedback from the market itself. So what you could do is you can ask your community to kind of build that on you and give you more about more goals and more product realistic feedback that you can go ahead and actually integrate. The next thing is SDK and API documentation video tutorials. Now, one of the things that your acquisition and awareness will be fueled by is the documentation and the video tutorials of your product. Now, keep in mind that developers are somebody who are people who usually like to figure things on their own, right? They need not necessarily need somebody to handhold them or to give them spoon feed them a lot of information. So what they do is they go ahead and find the information for themselves. And documentations are a great way to kind of get that information to them, where they can stumble upon themselves and get that integrated within their projects without you actually ever need to step into the funnel. And the better documentation you have, the better it is for your developers to experience your product, and the better you scale, right? So the sooner you adopt product market fit. And that being said, that's some of the goals that you would do at seed round. All right. So John has done all of that. You as a community manager or like the head of community will establish all of these things. And once you have a ball rolling, you now know people. You now want to people to kind of build a certain program. So what now has happened is that John realizes that he has a certain has a community vertical that's growing well and beyond. It's helping in product marketing, PR, and engineering. Now he moves to another round and raises another series of funding called Series A. Now, if you look at the valuation, it goes from 4 to 12 to 20 to 50. So it pretty much triples in size at least, and goes out to actually build raise a round of 7 to 12 million. Now you hire developer advocates, program managers, and content managers. Now the reason you as a head of community will hire all of these people is because you've realized there's a product market fit for your product. You need more and more people to talk about your product to other developers and to other developer communities. Participate in forums, help them adopt your product. Program managers to run programs like like a conference like this, or more thought leadership talks, or just like more programs like student ambassador programs, MVP programs, and such so forth. And content managers are people who are going to talk about, who are going to create and as well as propagate community roadmap and community content to your channel. So if you've set up Slack, Discord, or wherever your community is existing, you can go ahead and hire a content manager who can create that content and post about it, and then you can keep propagating further. You could also say that content managers and social media manager is something that you could hire, right? Um, Now, again, the responsibilities that happen here are acquisitions at a much larger pace. Now you have a better team, right? Now you have acquisition channels that you will set up in seed stage. So your acquisition channels will now be social media, word of mouth, content. Now you also have raised enough round of funding to actually go out and engage with the community. So you go out and sponsor hackathons, other programs, conferences, go speak at them, and now you have enough eyeballs looking at you because you just raised a round of funding, and you can go out and actually build these programs either in-house or go out and sponsor them, and you have program managers to do that for you, right? So you can go out and do that. So John let's gives you the budget to hire all these people. You make sure that these are the responsibilities that you're taking care of. Now, one of the things that you have to be in, like we have to ensure, is that ensuring that developer experience is as frictionless as possible. Now, imagine what a shame it would be if your product manager and founder builds a beautiful product, but because of lack of documentation, lack of integrations, the wrappers that developers want to work with, the adoption takes a hit, right? So you as a community manager or head of community would actually go out and build these things. You will build a lot of assets that can bring in frictionless adoptions. Now the fourth one is transitioning to a freemium model. Now, um, whenever you go out and give out adoptions, you would want to make sure that your developers are using it as effectively as possible. So you give them the freemium models, which are basically like they can use the product either with limited amount of usage or limited amount of features or limited amount of time, right? So you could do all of that, bringing out what the freemium model is, and once they like what they think, they can actually go out and buy it, right? And this is the essential goal behind moving towards a freemium model. The KPIs that you want to take care of are acquisition curve. You want to show that you're bringing people into the community day in and day out. You want to show 20 to 50% month on month growth and increase in adoptions. Build programs like students, campus or MVP programs where people can come. Students can come and actually spread out the word for you in their own developer communities. Now, these guys may not necessarily be students, but anyway, these are people who will go out and talk about your product. And of course, sales and marketing efficiency. So you want to spend the minimum amount of dollars for maximum returns. So if you can hire one developer advocates that talks about in 5 communities, and everybody from that community, there are 2 people who are signing up for your product, it's a great efficiency for your sales and marketing, right? So that's what you want to probably do. All right. So John does that, and you as a community manager or head of community have built all of these funnels. You have people taking care of each vertical now, and you've clearly have people rolling in, and you have month-on-month adoptions, and now you seem set to take it to the next round. Now you're going to be a bigger company now, right? All right. So what's the next stage? John goes out and raise another round of funding. The round size goes from 20 to 50, and the valuation touches 90 to 300, right? And this is great now because now you're a bigger company, right? Now everybody knows that you have a community. There are people now. Most likely you already have paying customers, and a lot of these paying customers have their developers or product managers and so forth actually part of your community, right? So you go out and build a team of evangelists and ambassadors who will not only uh, actually help your product to go propagate, but also help create a support group between your users, your customers, and actually make sure that they have a seamless experience within the community and have a great product experience. The responsibilities that you will have are now building a community revenue stream. Now, so far, like till Series A, you've had a lot of budget rolling into your community, right? You've spent a lot of time actually building bottom-up strategies, people going out and finding great products for you, great wrappers for you, building things for you. Now you have to find a way where your community builds or brings in a revenue stream and actually make sure that the revenue is also retained within the country, within the company. So the referral, some of the things that you can do is create a referral system, and you can also create retention via XYZ factors. One of them is loyalty ecosystem. Your KPIs or key performing indicators will be anywhere between 1.5 to 3 times year on year growth, right? Sustainable acquisition pipeline. Now, at this point in time, when you've had enough round of funding and enough people who are working for you, the acquisition should almost be on autopilot, right? You need not actually step into an ecosystem where you're actually going to find what are the loopholes. Have like a pipeline where people kind of come in by themselves and kind of stay within the community. One of the things that you can also think is community monetization plan. How do you intend to monetize the community? Is there like a specific super community that you're going to give people access to? Is there a specific feature that your certain kind of community will get to, right? And obviously net retention rate of your community. Now, that being said, your Series B is done. All right. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is how much, like, how do I show that how much my community is worth in advertising, like in actual dollars? Now, I've got this question quite a lot, and this is a fairly difficult question to answer, right? Because people are like, I have a community of 5,000, but what does that mean? Like, how much is it worth? How much should anyone pay to buy it? Now, this is the formula that I came up with, right? Let's say you have a community of 1,000 members, right? So out of those 1,000 members, you have 200 people who adopt your product. The freemium model that we spoke about, the least amount of the package of your product, which is at the bare minimum, you could sell it probably for $10, right? And the last is stickiness score. The stickiness score is how likely it is to replace your product. So if you're an API, right? API is once integrated in a product, it gets integrated at various different levels. So it's very hard to change an API overnight. Hence, it has a better stickiness score. So if you have a t-shirt buying website, your stickiness score is going to be less. But if you're something which has like a great stickiness score, it could be anywhere between 0.1 to 1, right? So let's say 1,000 members, you have 200 people who adopt it with a minimum spend of $10 per month, and then 0.7 is the stickiness score. So your 1,000 member community is worth $1,400 right now. You can use this formula to actually show how much your community is worth in actual dollars. Your referrals and the referrals that these guys will bring will actually be twice as likely to stay as compared to an actual inorganic paid advertising spend. The third is retention. Of course, you have reduced churn, you have more developer success and user ownership. If there are people who have built your product right from ground up, starting from day zero, they feel more attached to your product. Some of the indirect benefits of a community are more to defensibility. If you have a community which is very hard to break in, like we have a tool here in India called Tally, and Atlassian has a great tool, right? There are a lot of people, like Notion, for example, is a great example where people build for the product. And if you have a community that builds for your use case, you have a great moat. Or you can also hire people from your community. Like I said, you get access to world-class engineers foremost before the rest of the team does. So you can hire them. You can also find people to create great quality content for you. We have some of our most viewed blogs were created by our community. So user-generated content is one of them. Distribution in accessible areas. You sometimes can't even actually reach out to the places where your community can reach. So my community members may have cousins, right? Or their friends. I may not know them directly, but if I reach out to them and your community reaches out to their person circles, those inaccessible areas become like a distribution channel for you. The fifth is, of course, unidentified use cases by developers. As a company, you may have like a very tunneled vision, but if the more people you have, the better use cases they'll be able to find. And the sixth is thought leadership. If you have like a community that believes in a vision and believes and subscribes to your opinion, imagine the ideas and the power that you will have to actually propagate certain, your point of views. That's about it. I hope this was not too much of content, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take this further as after Olia's session. I hope this was helpful for you. You can you can reach out to me more on my LinkedIn, Twitter, or just write me an email.